I can kind of tell when something's about to take off, typically within like the first day of how it's like progressing. And I was like, this feels like it might take off, and it feels like it might take off in a bad way. People got crazy on TikTok. Welcome back, guys, to the Butterfly Season podcast. This is a follow-up episode to Chaos. And I'll give a little back history for those of you that are like just stumbling on this episode for the first time and wondering like what the hell is going on. So part one of this episode is an episode that I had with one of my friends named Sam Harper, and it was called Lean Into Your Gifts with Sam Harper. That's the title of the episode. It aired May 10, so there's probably a ton of episodes that have aired since then. So just scroll down to May 10 and that's the episode. Now, I stream my podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. On YouTube, though, you can watch the podcast in person. You can watch me, like right now, I'm just at home recording on Riverside, but sometimes I'll have in-person episodes where I'll be one-on-one with somebody. You can watch those as well. Like I said, I post on Instagram, I post on TikTok, and TikTok is a wild place. I was posting snippets of my episode with Sam, and in that episode, we talked a lot about sound healing. She is a sound healer and uses sound bowls to help activate different chakra points in your body. If you've been a listener for a long time, then you know that one of my breakthrough moments, the first moments around my like spiritual awakening was a sound bath where I realized that I had a blocked throat chakra, and my blocked throat chakra was pointing me to a way that I was working in business and people that I was working with that was no longer aligned. That moment in time transformed my life. And so I have been a big proponent of sound healing, chakras, all of the things. Like I literally, like that was the, magic pill that I took at that moment in time. And it took me down a journey of self-discovery, personal development, and all of the things. So I have Sam on to talk about sound healing, energetic frequencies, because, in a nutshell, and listen to the episode and it'll go deeper, but in a nutshell, like everything is energy. We know this, right, from physics. Everything has a vibrational frequency to it. And so do our chakra points. And this is my understanding of it. So do our chakra points, and the sound bowls will vibrate at the same frequency. And then when they're played, they can kind of shake some shit up in your chakra points. So wherever you've stored trauma, for me, it was in my throat. Stuff can come up, and with the proper integration, you can take action on whatever comes up to like further your self-development journey. Now, in relation to sound is also music, right? And so music, different types of music have different vibrational frequencies, and people who subscribe to the sound healing modalities or subscribe to that everything has energy, even music, even the vibration of music. I'm sure some of you have seen like on TikTok, someone will play like heavy metal, crazy, like rock music to plants. And then they'll play like higher vibrational music to another set of plants. And the ones that have like the low vibrational music, they like wilt and die much quicker, and nothing in the environment has changed with them. Or you've seen people talk about, speaking life over these plants and speaking hate over another set of plants, and the plants that have hate spoken over them die quicker. So it's the same premise, and that's what we're talking about on the podcast. But she talks specifically about hip hop, and she says that hip hop is low vibrational music. And the clip, not intentionally, but sometimes we use absolutes, right? And in the clip, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she did use an absolute in that hip hop is low vibrational or has low vibrational frequencies to it. Now, if you listen to the full episode, you will know that she's not saying all hip hop music has low vibrational frequencies. And so I think that coupled with that she is white and I'm Black, I had TikTok in a frenzy. And unfortunately, we're in a day and age where people don't allow you to speak on something if you are not the person experiencing it. I don't know. And in layman's terms, if you're white, you can't talk about anything that has to do with Black culture. If you're straight, you can't talk about anything that has to do with LGBTQ+, right? And so I don't subscribe to that. I don't feel like it's particularly fair, and I don't even want to get into the weeds of all of that. But because that's the general sentiment of the day and age that we live in right now, people got crazy on TikTok. And initially in the comments, it got a little crazy like day one. And my background is branding, public relations, marketing. So I can kind of tell when something's about to take off, typically within like the first day of how it's like progressing. And I was like, this feels like it might take off. And it feels like it might take off in a bad way. There was a lot of negative comments. There were a few that were so great and understood the sentiment of it and didn't need like the actual explanation or to listen to the podcast to fully understand where the conversation was going. But for some people who the idea of energy and music as a frequency, for some people who it's new to, you know, they needed to listen to the full episode to really understand. Anyways, I say all that to say it had so much, eventually over time, had so much hate that I turned the comments off. There was a lot of hate towards Sam for being white. There was a lot of hate towards Sam for speaking about chakras because she couldn't because she was white. There was a lot of hate around me for having cognitive dissonance around the topic of chakra points and hip hop just generally, and assumptions about my Black culture and how I feel about Black culture. There was a lot of hate. And it started to get progressively worse to the point where I felt like we don't need the comments to continue the message. So I had to shut them off. I chose to shut them off. Now, I'm making this follow-up episode because I think that I want to walk you guys through my process because it is important. My initial reaction on social media the first day when I opened up the comments, I was like, I maybe read 2 or 3, and it was late at night, like 9. I was headed to bed and I was like, you know what? I'm feeling the need to protect my energy around this episode. So I'm just not even going to read anything. I woke up in the morning and had a text message from Sam saying like, hey, like it's actually getting crazy on TikTok. I go and look and sure enough it is. And my initial reaction, like my heart was beating fast. I was getting flustered and thinking about like, oh my God, are we going to be canceled? Like, are we deserving of being canceled? Like, what is going on? And my initial reaction was to respond to some of those people, and not in a like negative way, like not to start a fight in the comments or be passive aggressive or anything, like literally just to respond. And keep in mind, like my background, branding, public relations, right? Marketing. I understand like a appropriate response, especially from a brand's perspective. I did a lot of crisis PR in my agency experience. And also I went to law school, so I kind of understand the ins and outs of like communication. But the energy in which I wanted to respond felt defensive. And I was like, I don't want to respond, even if it's an appropriate response, with an energetic, like of defensiveness, because I feel like it's either not going to land. I don't know, just like, you know, if we're getting into the like woo-woo realm of energy, I just didn't want to put something out there with a defensive energy. And so I explored it with my therapist. I was like, hey, this is what's going on. Can you help me unpack? I initially felt like I don't want to post anything about this episode anymore. Should I take it down? But there's nothing wrong with the episode. It wasn't bad. We weren't bashing hip hop. We weren't bashing Black people, but like it just turned into that in the comments. Like people just snowballed with what was being said in the comments. And I realized that like wanting to instantly respond is an anxious attachment style. Because I didn't feel seen, I didn't feel heard. I felt like I was being misunderstood and no one was understanding the overall message of what was going on. My second response was to like hide to prevent more chaos. I had like 4 different videos of that episode that I wanted to push out because it was like, you know, the teasers of the episode. And I was like, I'm just not going to post about this anymore, which isn't a good response either, or a response that I feel aligns with me either. And then finally, and this is over the course of a few days, like the first day felt like weird about it. Second day I was like, oh, what's going on? And then finally, talked with Sam a little bit, talked to my therapist a little bit. And I realized that like my message, one of my messages is high vibes only. And I have an episode on it and I talk about like how you can create a vibration where you're feeling good and like nothing can bother you. And that type of energy, you see more opportunities and problems, and you can problem solve quicker and things come to you quicker and all of the things. And we don't have to get into all of that in this episode, but my therapist asked me, what does a HBO high vibes only response look like? And I had to sit with that. And it looks like, at first for me, it looked like, being okay that I wasn't received well. Like that's not indicative of my worth. And if you've been listening for a while, you know that I have struggled with self-worth in the past, especially around work, especially around stuff that I put out into this world and make money on, like this podcast, like my businesses. And so a high vibes only response just internally without even responding just in generally is that like, it's okay that I'm not for everyone. And for content that is like, you know, good and bad or received well or not received well, it's still an opportunity to expand the message. And I think we think when we see hate in the comments that every single person hated it, or when we see love in the comments that every single person in the comments loved it. And that's not true. You have like, in this case on the videos, thousands of other people who knows how they thought about it, right? But it could have positively affected so many other people. I wanted to share that process with you of how I tried to maintain in the energy of abundance and not lack. Lack was take it down. Lack was respond passive aggressively or just respond with a defensive energy, not post anything else about it, hide. Like that was, you know, feelings of lack, but leaning into like the whole message of the Butterfly Season podcast with like the beauties in the transformation, the beauties in the hard stuff, embrace it, like, and then take action on it and live out your life full out in butterfly season. Like that's what this is. And so maintaining that energy is, instead of an anxious attachment style, like I talked about before, is it a secure attachment style? The high vibes energy that I'm talking about, the high vibes only, which merch you can get online at itsbutterflyseason.com. I actually have one right here. If you're looking on YouTube, we have a new colorway available. There's like charcoal, there's this like ash gray, mint green, and then, you know, like the Nipsey blue that I love. So that's a shameless plug for my high vibes only merch. But really though, secure attachment is high vibes, not anxious attachment. And that's why this response feels more appropriate to the crazy hate that me and Sam got on TikTok. Just all in all, anytime you are experiencing or you run up against conflict, chaos, drama, hate, trolls, know that a response, a healthy attachment style response, a high vibes only response looks like it's informed, it's secure, it's uplifting. You're not dimming yourself. You're not hiding. You're not playing small. Like you just keep showing up because it's that negative lack energy that wants to keep you down. So thanks for listening. If you haven't heard the episode, go listen to it. I would love to know your honest thoughts about the situation. I think Sam and I may do a part 2 at some point, if and when time permits, to really help drive home the point about what the podcast was trying to relay. So yeah, thank you so much for being a listener to this point. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you so much. If you're a frequent listener, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. So until next time.